We're now going to hear a couple of 10-minute company presentations before we get to our funding panel at past. But we're starting things off with turning chemistry circular, scaling fatty acids made from local agri-food waste. Delighted to welcome the CEO of ChainCraft, Marc den Hartog. Marc.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it's my pleasure to be here, standing in front of you representing ChainCraft. In the 10 minutes we have, I will talk briefly about ChainCraft, but also want to share with you our scaling journey, because I think as many in scale-ups know the journey we're on and the steps we're taking, I think it's good for everyone in the ecosystem to realize what it takes to be there. And I hope that also by the end of the presentation you'll know why we have a potato at the center of what we're currently after. So briefly about ChainCraft. So we believe in a chemical industry, which is, as we all know, and I'm an organic chemist myself, it's the mother of all industries, essential to what we do. But it's an industry where energy reduction and changing for renewables is very easy when it comes to heat and other things. But when it comes to the carbon molecules used in those chemical industries, it's very difficult to replace them. So we want to do that by providing chemicals that are actually sustainable, circular, and that are still essential for improving our daily lives. Our proposition is actually threefold. So we are producing drop-in chemicals called fatty acids, and we make them from agricultural residues and food waste. By that, we want to enable the hard-to-abate industries to decarbonize. And thirdly, we will replace palm and petro-based fatty acids that all come with their own typical challenges and problems, as we all know. And also very important, I think, for a green chemical proposition is we do that at price parity. So our products, what are they? And we're not going to get too much into organic chemistry, but I assume that most of you know when we talk about carbon chain lengths that we identify them with a C and with the amount of carbons linked. So what we make is a range of products called medium chain fatty acids, ranking from C4 all the way up to C8, either produced chemically like C4 and C5, or coming from natural resources like castor oil and palm for C6 up to C8. And the key differentiator with those other sources is ultimately the carbon footprint or the global warming impact. We're able, with producing them from agricultural and food waste, with a biotechnology process, to reduce up to 8 times the amount of CO2 released. And for the real LCA and PCF experts, this is excluding biogenic content. So imagine that if you just include that where we already stand today. As mentioned, those products are used in everyday household products. They're in the fragrances of what just the speaker from IFF told in our laundry and home care applications in the form of esters. They're used as polymers in various applications like skincare. They're used as glycerol esters to improve gut health in human and animal nutrition. So really typical building blocks that the chemical industry uses. We do that currently at scale in Amsterdam, at demonstration scale, producing up to 2 kilotons per year for about 7 years. And we've scaled the technology 250 times since it came from the lab. Not to go too much into the process, but high level, it's an open mixed culture fermentation, which is a very robust process, and it's a 2-step process. In the first step, it's a biocracker. It is a digestion anaerobically, where you break down all the long-chain natural molecules into shorter chain fatty acids. And in the second step of the fermentation, where you always start with almost the same intermediate, we do what we call, it's where the magic happens, where we have chain elongation reactors by creating the optimal circumstances from that same natural mixed culture to stimulate what they're good at. And that's a handful of bacteria that actually elongate the chains again to C4 up to C8. And of course, as with every biochemical process, which is crucial when it comes to plant design and cost and purity, is a solid DSP, downstream processing. We haven't gone there overnight. So far, the bright story of things. It took us 16 years to scale this technology. And I also want to convey to you the message of the importance of scaling in those steps. Because from a lab where you do things in a lab coat and at small scale bioreactors, you'll move to a pilot which you could fit in a garage, but still will take a couple of vessels and smart technicians and scientists to do that. But at the demo scale, things are really different. It's something investors don't like because it's very expensive. Things break down, you have wear and tear, you have all the problems that you find out. But it's an essential stage. So I think for us, we've been very lucky with our investors so far that they've been able to finance that and customers to actually buy the products from the demo plant. It's also a very important shift because you move from scientists, people that want to innovate everyday new stuff, to operators, square people that want standard operating procedures and don't like change. So for us, in terms of mindset and culture, but also in the way we go about in safety, it's been very important to actually have this as an asset. So after 16 years of hard work, I think at least we've managed to get to a technology readiness level and all the experience with the demo plant to really now move to the next scale, which is our first full-scale plant, a 20,000-ton facility that will be able to produce the products at price parity and at scale that the chemical industry needs. I talked about the technology and the robustness of that that is essential for bioprocesses to scale. But I think as you can see here, there's many more other things. Anticipating on Mathieu Flamini this afternoon, who has all the right to talk about Champions League, but it sometimes feels like scale-up companies that have to play Champions League to bring all these aspects, not only further, but also with the precision time them to bring them together. Because that's the only way that you can actually come to that moment of the decision to invest and scale. And again, the disclaimer there, it's not the exhaustive list. There's much more to do when you're scaling bio-innovations. We're progressing well. We have completed the design and we're currently in what you call an early contractor involvement phase. For a first of a kind, we have decided not to contract it out to one party, but really build a team that collectively is responsible for the success, to make sure that ultimately also we continue to learn and innovate throughout the process. Also, knock on wood, or plastic in this case, I hope it's bioplastic, that we're well progressing with our permit. We've learned a lot from other scale-ups in Europe on the pitfalls, on what could drag down timelines. So I think there also in this community, there's a lot to learn and share in experiences. We're still waiting for a subsidy from the Dutch government, surprisingly enough, to help us to complete the funding round. And I think also very important, we've secured access to a feedstock. And in our case, although the process is pretty feedstock agnostic, although the bugs don't like lignocellulosic feedstock or used cooking oils, but for the rest, anything that contains starches, proteins, and sugars works well. And we've secured access to a feedstock, which is called potato juice, for 25 years, a side product from the starch potato industry. So we're now gearing up for our investment decision to build this plant in the second half of this year. With our executive team, we've anticipated on the future reality by already planting a tree in the northern part of the Netherlands where this facility will be built. It's a peach tree that stands for prosperity and well-being. I'm not sure if actually a peach tree is the best tree that we could pick for the northeast part of Groningen in the Netherlands, where, it's definitely not the most comfortable place for a peach tree to be, but we'll hope it lasts for a long time, at least until we start breaking ground for the plant. I want to finish off with two things from that whole picture. One is feedstock and partners, and the other is customers. So let me start with feedstock and the partnering there. I think we're very happy that we have found ultimately, after having looked at a lot of post-industrial side streams from the agro and food sector, to end up with AVB, a Dutch potato starch cooperative. It's been out there for 118 years, and as long as they've been around, they've been struggling with getting rid of their potato juice. It's, by the way, not anything like orange juice. It's high in potassium, very unhealthy to drink, and full of insoluble. So, but for us and for our bugs, a very suitable feedstock. And by having access to a feedstock for such a long term, it provides us the stability of supply and security also of continuity of our operations. But next to that, in an industrial symbiosis like this one, we're also very happy that we could actually make use of a lot of their utilities. You see that more often in the world at biorefinery complexes. This is also a very similar thing. So it saves us capital that we don't have to put in boilers or wastewater treatment, because those are the things that our partner will provide us. But for them, it comes with a problem they had to solve. Evaporating a lot of water to get rid of a side stream consumes a lot amount of gas. It requires capex and maintenance for those gas-fired boilers. So I think it's not just them as a big partner doing us a friendly gesture. No, it's also for them a business case. And it helps them also to future-proof their business, because ultimately their wastewater is full of potassium and other salts, which we help to take out and separate as pure crystals. And as promised, I wanted to end with customers, because ultimately, it's last but not least, it's customer first. If there's no demand, there's no reason why you want to build a factory, right? So I think we're very happy with a couple of strategic partners that have the trust in us and that want to be part of the coalition of the willing to get new value chains like ours in place. And I also want to thank you for your attention and join us on this journey. Thank you.